Guys, everybody here, guys, listen. If you look at the motion properly, let's stop kidding ourselves. The donation that will be made in this debate will not ensure that all animal rights are protected. It's not the solution to the protection of animal rights. The donation that will be made to fighting poverty and to ensuring poverty alleviation is not what will solve the problem of poverty in the world. The reason this debate speaks about activists is because activists are there to make statements. So what kind of action should activists take in order to make the kind of statement that you need? But more importantly, what kind of action should a progressive activist take to make society better? So Barack Obama and Bernie Sanders are both activists. They are both against expansion of Wall Street banks. But the difference between them is that Obama is just a centrist or liberal activist. But then Bernie Sanders is a progressive activist. So even though Obama will go and give Wall Street speeches and take $400,000, that is something that Bernie Sanders will never do. Because the thing about progressive activists is that they are usually people who are in the minority on issues and pick bold stances and are usually fighting in the corners of small people. The kind of groups they support are groups that have usually been so neglected and ignored by the larger society. Unlike regular activists, progressive activists owe a bigger obligation to stand in their corner and continue their efforts no matter what. So a regular activist, animal rights activist, can always do whatever that he wants, but a progressive activist is always obligated or obliged to stand in the corner of animal rights because that is the only way he can send the best statement across. The POI I asked David Ejim in this debate is that, guys, could be wait, is that, listen, would you allow an on-screen depiction of a man being allowed to sleep forcefully with a robotic woman? He said no. You know why? It is because when there is a situation that is depicted to society, that actually can translate into real-life experiences, you don't want to send across a bad statement. And so when you allow such a situation to happen, even though the robot is inhuman, but you know that there is a human depiction of that robot. And so you are sending a message of how rape culture is something that we should encourage. That is the same way. Animals have lives. So if you send across a message that under these circumstances, progressive activists should not prioritize the lives of animals, you are sending across a message that rights in themselves are disproportional. And so then some people have bigger rights than others. I'll show you in my extension why when you as a country send across a message that rights are disproportional and so people have bigger rights than others, it is bad because then it means we endorse all forms of invasions and abuse of people's rights because we believe that some people have better rights than the others. Two extraneous rebuttals before I go on. So Ejim tells us that humans are not as easily replaceable as animals. I wanted to ask Kumbi a very petty POI, but he didn't pick me. I just wanted to ask him about his argument that animals won't go extinct as to when last he saw a dragon, I saw Game of Thrones, or whether he brought a dinosaur here. That is because animals, listen, animals have become extinct as human beings have flourished. The reasons human beings have flourished is because we pay more attention to ourselves. But the second thing Ejim says is that, well, devaluation of human needs affects the kind of valuation we give to animal needs. That is the same way devaluation of animal needs affects the kind of valuation that we give to human needs. And so if we say that animals don't have life, and you say have full moral status, do not have the kind of life that human beings should protect, then it means that humans also, we also believe that there are also better lives in humans, like black people, white people are better than black people and what have you. Then Kubi says finally that backlash for future activism. Funny, because you know why? Backlash exists in all forms of activism. If black people were thinking of backlash, they would never have fought against white people. Whenever I want to fight activism and these people. But listen, when there is a need, like this kind of farming we are talking about is likely to happen in very developing countries because, how often do developed countries have famines? So developing countries are places where there's the likelihood that animal rights are not as respected as human rights. Therefore, it means that it's very difficult to stifle sentiments concerning the progress of human rights, of animal rights. So if we are talking about which donation makes the most impact, it is made in a society where people don't already respect animal rights. When a progressive activist who is expected to stand in the corner of his beliefs no matter what, contributes to human needs, it sends across a bad message that even the progressives have neglected them. So in any struggle, when progressives neglect their position, it's bad. That's why when Bernie Sanders started buying into the rhetoric of Hillary Rodham Clinton, his supporters reacted badly, because when progressives neglect their position, they lose the kind of support base that they have. And so they are obliged to stay in their corner. Before my next point here.
Now, is the purpose of progressive activism to remain in the oppressed minority outgroup, which is basically tokenism while making statements, or to create positive change? If it is the latter, then engage our point on how, if you do these things, you alienate the people whom you need to create this positive change.
Positive change cannot, listen, I've told people like about 3 times this day on this thing. Positive change can never happen without creating a center of tension. And so, if we don't tell humans that, listen, even in famine, we'll prioritize animal lives, human beings will never take our concerns as seriously. And so, tension is always necessary. That's why even when we want to promote black rights, we do it in a way that still angers white people. Because we know that the form of tension is necessary and it's something that you can never ignore. So, it's a very good thing. But the final thing that I tell you is that, like, animals face the kind of famine that humans face. So unlike David Ejim and Kumbi want us to believe, animals also suffer famine and they are suffering in this kind of place. However, when you push statements or narratives that say we can ignore animal rights for human rights, we send a message that rights are disproportional. That means in global politics, when 2 countries are facing the same kind of situation and the same kind of problem, but one country has more resources to be able to attack the other country, they are justified in the kind of world that you create. Because you say that what? Their rights are disproportional. And hence, since they have needs that we don't actually care about, we can go in to attack them and do whatever that is possible. But secondly, it means in societies where there are groups that actually are in the majority and are oppressing minority groups, it means that they are justified in doing so. Because you say that, hey guys, come out of this. Even though you still have certain form of rights, our rights are more important. Under no circumstances should state actions push narratives that go against what is principally right. Progressive activists, unlike regular activists, are obliged to always stay in their corner because it is principally legitimate, and then secondly, it's a kind of principle that gives the best form of utility. The kind of donation that will be made in this debate will not solve animal protection or will not solve poverty in the world, but it will make the best kind of statement if we donate to animal societies, and we are proud to do this.